The observation deck of the Galactic Council station hummed with tension as representatives from 47 species watched the trial unfold. At the center of the crystalline chamber stood Ivan, a human diplomat whose weathered face bore the scars of countless negotiations. Beside him, her hand resting protectively on a sleek data tablet, stood Angelina, humanity's chief xenobiologist, and the only person in the galaxy who truly understood what was at stake, the Crithian ambassador. His scaled hide, rippling with barely contained fury, slammed his four-fingered hand against the podium. The humans have violated the sacred treaty of non. Their presence in the Outer Rim has corrupted the natural development of the cub species. Ivan remained perfectly still, his dark eyes fixed on the council mediator. He had learned long ago that silence was often humanity's greatest weapon. Angelina, however, stepped forward, her auburn hair catching the artificial light of 3 different suns, filtering through the station's viewport. "Councillor Vrex," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of 1,000 worlds hanging on her words. "May I present evidence to the contrary?" The insectoid mediator clicked his mandibles in what passed for approval among his kind. Angelina activated the holographic display, and the chamber filled with images of a small, furry species, the cubs, as they had come to be called by the wider galaxy. They were barely 3 feet tall, with large eyes that spoke of intelligence just beginning to bloom and paws that had only recently learned to fashion tools. 6 months ago, Angelina continued, the Crithian Mining Consortium began operations on Telesci. Unaware that the cubs had established their first permanent settlements in the planet's southern continent, the mining created seismic disturbances that threatened to destroy everything the cubs had built. The hologram shifted, showing the chaos that had ensued. Cubs fleeing their collapsing homes, their young clutched in their arms, their faces twisted in terror that transcended species barriers. The Crithians had every legal right to continue, Angelina said, and several council members nodded in agreement. The cubs they have no representation here, no voice, no protection under galactic law. Ivan finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of Earth's history, all its triumphs and terrible mistakes. We had a choice to make. We could follow the law and watch an entire species' first civilization crumble before it truly began, or we could act. You interfered. The Crithian ambassador roared. You made contact with a pre-contact species. You changed the natural course of their development. We gave them earthquake-resistant building techniques, Ivan said simply. Nothing more. No weapons. No advanced technology. Just knowledge of how to build structures that could withstand their planet's instability. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species shouted their support for humanity's actions, others demanded immediate sanctions. But Angelina raised her hand, and something in her gesture commanded attention. "There's something else," she said quietly. "Something we discovered about the cubs that changes everything." The hologram shifted again, this time showing detailed neural scans and cultural observations. The cubs have a unique evolutionary trait. They possess what our xenopsychologists call empathic memory. Every significant emotional experience in their society is shared, passed down through generations, not as story, but as felt experience. Ivan picked up the explanation. When we helped them, when we showed them mercy instead of exploiting their vulnerability, we didn't just save their settlements, we embedded the concept of compassion from an advanced species into their entire cultural memory forever. The chamber fell silent, as the weight of this revelation settled over the assembled delegates, and eyes glistened as she continued. 3 days ago we received a transmission. The cubs have a tradition when a member of their society performs an act of great significance. They create a song that becomes part of their collective memory. They created one for humanity. She played the recording. The sound that filled the chamber was unlike anything most species had heard, a complex harmony of voices, young and old, that somehow conveyed both gratitude and understanding. The universal translator struggled with the nuances, but the emotion was unmistakable. "They call it the first gentle victory," Angelina whispered. "In their memory, we are the first powerful beings who chose not to harm them when we easily could have. And now, that knowledge that mercy is possible, that power can be tempered with kindness, will be part of their species' consciousness for all time." The Crithian ambassador's rage had faded to something resembling confusion. But the law was written by species who had forgotten what it meant to be vulnerable. Ivan said, "Humans remember. We remember being hunted by predators on the savannas of Earth. We remember being at the mercy of forces we couldn't control. We remember what it meant to be helped when we were helpless." He turned to face the entire council, and Angelina stood beside him, united in purpose. "You can sanction us. You can revoke our council seat, but you cannot erase what we've done. The cubs will remember, and they will grow. And someday, maybe centuries from now, they will join you here among the stars. And when they do, they will not come with the fear and suspicion that has defined so many first contacts. They will come with hope. Because we showed them that the galaxy could be kind, Angelina added softly. The mediator's mandibles clicked in the pattern that indicated deep contemplation. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, from the back of the chamber, the representative from the Valkyrie, one of the galaxy's oldest species, rose from her seat. I propose, she said, her ancient voice carrying the wisdom of millennia, that we do not sanction humanity. Instead, I propose we amend the Treaty of Non-Interference to include a clause of mercy provision, to be invoked only when a pre-contact species faces natural extinction or catastrophic loss of civilization. The chamber erupted once more, but this time, the tenor of the debate had changed. Ivan and Angelina exchanged a glance, and in that moment, they both understood. They had not just saved the cubs, they had reminded the galaxy of something it had lost in its climb toward the stars: the simple, revolutionary power of choosing not to strike back, of offering help instead of harm, of being strong enough to be gentle. As the council debated into the night cycles, a message arrived from Telos 9. The cubs had built a monument at the site of their first reinforced structure. It was a statue, crude but earnest, depicting two figures, one with weathered features and steady eyes, another with flowing hair and a determined stance, reaching down to lift a small, furry being from the rubble. Beneath it, in the cub's newly developed written language, were words the translator rendered as, "The day the stars learned mercy." And in the collective memory of an entire species, humanity became not conquerors or destroyers, but the first gentle victory, proof that power and compassion could coexist, that the strong could choose to protect the weak, and that sometimes, refusing to strike back was the greatest victory of all. End.